Check. Hi everyone, make yourself comfortable, grab some pizza, grab a beer, we'll get started in the next 10 minutes or so, there's no rush. Enjoy. All right, we might get a start. Check. Whoa. Check, check, check. All right. Where's Mike? Where's Mike sitting? Your second job, apart from this later on, is if you can't hear the audio, fiddle with some buttons. So that's this one. That's the lapel mic. If it starts to feedback, just drop the levels down. You know, like we thought about that. Oh, maybe. All right. So, thanks for coming, everyone.
So we'll see you in less of
Who was up this morning at 3 o'clock watching the keynote? Who watched it live? Barry's only half watched it. Come on, I'm not the only one. Oh, okay. That's not as good as I thought. Maybe everyone that's here didn't watch it, therefore that's why you're here. Everyone who watched it's at home.
leaks weren't exciting enough.
Wasn't exciting, no. All right. So thanks for coming. Thanks for coming tonight. I'll do a little quick intro, and then we've got Joe has come at the last second with a presentation, a lightning talk, and then Gerald's going to talk about something really cool, and I'm going to talk about something maybe interesting to start with. I'll start the evening with our code of conduct. I'm super proud of us putting together a code of conduct earlier in the year, and I mentioned it at the start of every evening, but our CocoaHeads community is dedicated to an inclusive environment for everyone, regardless of all the differences there, religion, lack thereof, or technology choices, especially iPhone choices, iPhone colors. Just be nice to everybody. No.
It's Android developers.
The code of conduct is published on the website of Code of Conduct, and if there's an incident that occurs, feel free to send an email to codeofconduct@melbournecocoaheads.com. That comes to a small group, including myself, who have taken it upon themselves to, I guess, handle any issues. You can email anonymously if, actually you probably can't. Anyway, in all seriousness, if there's an issue, please get in touch with myself by email personally or via that email address. There's lots of upcoming events. Hack Night for CocoaHeads and the Google Developer Group is next Wednesday at Cognizant, and that's been going really, really well. If you haven't come along, definitely put next Wednesday aside. It's an all-ages, inclusive evening of hacking on your computer with the other Melbourne developers. The Google Developer Group is there as well, and there's a real good opportunity to mix and match. Drinks Night is the end of the month, 25th. NS Breakfast is October 5th. Melbourne GDG, well, kind of a brother or sister group. August 26th. Melbourne AWS Group, September 26th. Oh, the date's right, the month's wrong.
Where's Cognizant? Like physically?
Oh, Cognizant's like just over here.
Down the bottom of the street.
Yeah. And then GDG is running a Dev Fest, which is a one-day, Saturday little mini conference as well, if you're interested. I've got a slide for GDG Dev Fest. They're working really hard to get a really interesting little lineup there. It's mobile, but Android, Flutter, AR, Android things, and then ML and web sort of Angular stuff. So again, if you want to learn things you're not using in your iOS development work day to day, GDG Dev Fest looks great. A couple of photos from the Cognizant office, the Hack Night, so it's kind of very busy. That's another shot from the Hack Night at the IBM building when we were there. So we've had a few different hosts this year, and it's been lots of fun to see inside other companies' offices. And then this was earlier in the year as well. It's kind of there's sort of the same people in every photo in the front. I think I stand next to the same couple of people and take the photo every month. Anyway, you can find CocoaHeads at melbournecocoaheads.com, Twitter, Melbourne Coco. We have Slack. I realized just today that our Slack channel's been open for 4 years. We've got nearly 500 people in it, which is pretty cool. And you can contact me at jesse@melbournecocoaheads.com. And all of our presentations, unless you would not like me to live stream them, are live streamed on YouTube. I've been publishing, I'm normally a month or so behind, but I've been publishing each video this year up there. There's lots of awesome content. I'd like to thank our sponsors for this year, our major sponsors, realestate.com.au. Can't see the team from Real Estate here tonight, but they were probably up watching the keynote. And our silver sponsors are Itty Bitty Apps, Biloo, J-Tribe, Cognizant, and Explore. So they're a really great crew of people helping out. The beer and the pizza and the cost of hiring the venue all come from the sponsors. Our venue is YBF Ventures this year. That's where we are. They've been great hosts this year. We're hoping to carry on with them. Tonight's agenda is slightly different to this, but we'll do the intro now, talk a little bit about the phones, maybe. Kind of got a bit tired talking about them already, so maybe I won't talk too much. And then I think I'll get Joe up first, lightning talk, or after me, after this, and then Gerald after that, and then we'll go to the pub. I'll start, before I get into my little spiel, might start with who's hiring. So we do this every month, and if you're from a company or your company is looking to hire mobile developers, if you want to just put your hand up, and we'll go around the room and you can sort of just say to everyone else who you are and what you're looking for. And Mike, this is your opportunity.
I'm Taz from CocoaHeads.com.au. We are hiring iOS devs, all levels. So maybe it's some iOS dev coming in here.
Great. I know Daz from car sales. Yep.
Hi, my name's Laura. I'm from Domestic Cat Software. So you might not have heard of us. We're based in Abbotsford. We're quite a small team. We're about 16 people, but we are looking for mid-level and senior-level iOS devs. We do a lot of work with startups, and at the moment we're working with a startup in autonomous vehicles, which is really cool. So come and see me afterwards if you're interested. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, great. I think we had none last month. That's better. So I'll post your guys' details up in the jobs channel, and you can follow up either directly tonight in person or in the jobs channel. The details will be there. All right, so I'll jump into a quick little presentation. I don't really have a rant on the phones this morning. I'm personally pretty excited about the watch, but the big thing that came out on the phones was how expensive they've suddenly become. So I sat down this afternoon and thought, I mean, I totally understand that they're really expensive, but sometimes you just have to have the latest iPhone all the time. So I tried. No, this is I know I'm gonna just see if this works or not. It probably won't work. So I tried to come up with some metrics. And someone with more maths can probably do a better job than me. But this is all the current models as of when they started coming out. And I came up with a couple of metrics, gigabytes per pixel. So that's the size of the phone and how many pixels it has on the screen, and gigabytes per transistor, because they've got lots of transistors. So you can see the different models there. And then you take the price and divide it by whether you want pixels or transistors. And you can work out the value for you of the new phones. So, I think higher is better in these graphs. Yeah, so given how much money you're spending, you divide the gigabit pixels by the dollars, and more is better? Yeah, more is better. A lower number means that the number will be higher. So you get the most gigabytes per pixel dollar with the Max 512 and the XS 512. So that's if you're up for the most pixels for your money, that's how you go there. Or gigabyte pixels. On the other side, this looks very similar. This is the gigabyte transistor per dollars, and you end up with the best value is the XS that has a slightly better ratio of transistors to gigabyte dollars. What I was really interested in, the reason why I put it together was I thought the addition of the R device was quite interesting. It sits between the old stuff and the new stuff, and it sort of stacks up, and you get different colors. There's no rationale in here for colors. That was harder too, but I tried really hard, but a $2,400 phone is epic. I never thought that would happen. Just epic. And I know people that break these phones all the time. And if you want the Apple Care on top, it's another 10% or 15%.
So someone did mention if you buy it with an Amex card, you get 4 years, $500 per year screen replacement.
With an Amex card? Oh. Just increase. Oh, you get a lot of points if you put it on Amex card. All right, so that's all I fiddled with today, and I was actually surprised how complex it was to divide the right numbers together to come up with something, and it wasn't really that interesting. I apologise. But what I did think was interesting, in the last month or so, Casey in the Slack channel created a group, a channel called TIL, that today I learnt, and jumped into general and said, oh, hey, if you don't know, we've started a channel called TIL, and, a pile of people jumped in, and it's been in the last 10,000 messages that I can see on Slack, I learnt a lot that's in that channel. So I thought I'd go through and put together some, consider this a TIL lightning talk, but contributed by the Melbourne CocoaHeads community are some really awesome tips that I think everyone will learn from. So Sherman, these are in chronological order, but that is not relevant at all. Sherman posted a really interesting article on getting your colors lined up between Interface Builder and UI color. That screenshot, I've seen this heaps of times where you're in Interface Builder selecting a color and then you're coding some colors and they look different. The slide notes for this I'll post up online, but I thought that was a really, really great start. Second thing, you can restrict access to a stored properties setter. This would be some Swift syntax for a variable. You've got public, then private, then set, and then the variable name. So the first public refers to the access level for the getter, and the second is the private set. I knew you could do private set, but I'd never really thought of doing public and private in a row. That was shared by Casey. Xcode 9 has code folding. There's a menu item for you command click on a function and you can fold it. And then what I'm really enjoying about the TIL channel is someone else piles in and says, oh, well, there's also another way to do the same thing. So you can also command option and left arrow will fold and unfold your code. I think I've done that accidentally a lot of times. This was shared probably due to me asking some audio questions, but this microphone company, Rode, is actually an Australian company. I didn't know that. So TIL, it's, you know, this is tagged under my category of the more you know, but their first microphone sold a lot, so they had the Rode NT1, so they could call it a rodent. I thought that was interesting.
Like a rat up a drain pipe means a lot.
Yeah, that's fast. It's pushing the slang there a bit, isn't it? Casey shared this progress class, which is probably something that should be on NS Hipster if it's not already, but it's a class that lets you sort of instantiate it. You can set dependencies between progresses and progress classes. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. And I think a couple of people chimed in saying, wow, didn't even know that. It's one of those foundation classes that you just don't know is there. So this is a simple example from the documentation where you would have a data task and then you'd update the progress as the data task progress updates. I've got the link to this class in the notes and I'll show you the notes at the end. Baz shared a couple this month. There's a way to get the number of files left indexing, left to go in indexing, and that's we all love a good defaults write command that's undocumented and someone found it somewhere. So that's awesome. IDE indexer activities show numeric progress, bool true. Bit of Git TIL, removing all untracked and non-ignored files from your working tree, git clean fx, and then removing all the untracked directories, git clean fd. I think over the years I do git clean x fd, so I do them all at once. It kind of just blows everything away that's not part of the repo, hidden files that aren't, you know, ignored and everything. That was by Ben. You can toggle invisible files in Finder with command shift dot, which I guess dot represents the full stop. That dot represents the hidden files. That was pretty cool. And then, yeah, Hugh jumped in saying it also works in save dialogues. Like, oh, that's cool. Another interface builder one, if you option click the embed in stack button, it seems to do, it unembeds something from a stack in UI in interface builder. And then in Xcode 10, you can embed in scroll views from those buttons as well. So that functionality in interface builder lets you take a view and say embed it in a stack view or embed it in a thing. Option clicking around that seems to do something interesting. You can copy and paste files between one Mac and another with handoff. I don't know how to do that though, but I can sometimes get a Safari tab to come up in the other Mac, but it just works.
Just copy from the laptop or from your phone and just paste on the other distros.
They have to be close proximity, that's something.
Provided I write on both.
Right. And they're close to each other.
Close, yes,
You also have, a lot of times you have to have Bluetooth on first because it'll only notice proximate computers via Bluetooth even if they're on the same network.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think I was trying to share a file with AirDrop the other day, and we couldn't. My wife and I couldn't get it working, and she's like, "Oh, I'll just bring it closer to your computer. That seems to work." I'm like, "Really?" And it worked. I'm like we're in different rooms, but like we could talk to each other. She's like, "I'll bring it closer," and it just pops up. I think it's that. Alt dragging a file in Xcode duplicates the file. Baz, I've used this half a dozen times since you said that.
Yeah,
so
I use it all the time.
You,
for years, and then suddenly I'm just like, oh, I'm going to do this.
you just take a file and alt drag it and it copies it. It's brilliant.
Apparently some people don't like to say alt, they say option.
Oh yeah, option. Some of my Apple keyboards have alt written on them, some don't. So these slides are up at the Melbourne CocoaHeads GitHub. There's an MC intro slides deck, that a repo that I put all my starting slides in. Not sure why, it just makes it easier to keep track of it. Everything version controlled. These slides are up there, there's a few extra links in there, but join the TIL channel on Slack. It's lots of fun, and contribute your own things. Nothing is silly. There's always someone. If you think you've just learned something today, trust me, other people don't know it. It's always interesting. Or someone might make it help you learn even more. So that's enough from me. I'll turn it over to Gio. What?
Did you type something on your keyboard but nothing happened on our screen?
No, that's it. There's no more. Sorry.
Are there any other interesting channels on Melbourne CocoaHeads?
Interesting channels on the Slack. Hold on. No. Till is the latest good one. Rumors is no longer interesting. There's Jobs and Jobs Meta. Jobs Meta is really good to talk about jobs. Like someone will post a job and then everyone talks about it in Jobs Meta. And if you talk about jobs in the Jobs channel, someone will say, go to Jobs Meta. Seems to be the thing. Now, the TL is the most interesting addition to the Slack thing since last month. All right, I'll get out of the way. I'll hand over to Gio. Good opportunity to refresh your drink. We'll be back in a couple of seconds.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hi. My name is Joe or Gio, and today I learned that there is a Today I Learned channel on the Slack CocoaHeads, which is awesome. I decided to give this lightning talk a few hours ago because I learned that we were lacking talks. So I'll just jump on and do a chando. So if you know me, if you've ever worked with me, you know that I absolutely hate using the mouse. I hate it. If I could find a way not to use it ever, I would be very happy. And a few weeks ago, I did a little workshop at DevWorld, and a few people were, oh gosh, you never use the mouse. How do you do all those things? So I thought, well, maybe I can just show off a bit. Well, we can start with the basics, right? You know, macOS command tab, you can navigate through your apps. Then you can go into Xcode, and you know, you can run with Command R. This is the app for the workshop, and it just downloads books from the New York Times APIs and then does another request to get the thumbnail from the Google Books APIs. And again, in Xcode, you know, like this is the app delegate, and if you want to go to a file, you can open quickly. I want to go to the view controller, so I could type view controller, but the search is fuzzy, so I can just type VC. And it's good. Doesn't work. Well, it was going to happen sooner or later, right? But view, it happens already. All right. And if you install this plugin called XVim, you can do a lot of text navigation very, very fast. So you can go to the top of the file, or you can go to the bottom of the file. You can also go, you know, up a few pages, and you can notice that this view controller is terrible. Everything, this is the entire app, it's only in the view controller. There's this, the bottom bar in the way, so you can do Shift Command Y to get rid of it. And say, where are my files? Where you can press Command 1 to open the file navigator. And guess how you go to the source code one? Command 2. And to the next one, Command 3. If you are tired of that, you can hide it with Command 0. It works for the inspector on the right side as well. So Alt, Option, Command, Control, Option, Command 0, and it opens up. And you can get rid of it with the same key combo. Or maybe you can't. There you go. Option, Command 0. You know, it's the trepidation of being here with you. If you want to open files one next to the other, you can go in Open Quickly again and do Option Enter, and there they are. And you can jump between windows with Control W. Tap, 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 tap. You can do other interesting things like in the simulator, Command and the arrows, and you can spin it around. And if you want to see the someone is calling you bar, Command Y. And if you want to get rid of it, Command Y again. You want to close the simulator, your app, or let's say simulator pressed on the home button, Shift Command H. Easy peasy. Twice. Anyway. And so this is just the basics, right? If you want to step it up a notch, you can install a window manager called Hammerspoon that allows you to configure all your keys to move windows around. So you can do, the way I configure them is Option Command B, and it gets as big as the whole screen, and then I can move it like this, and I can move it like that, and like that, and like that, and make it big again. What else can I show you? We can, I mean, keyboard shortcut work everywhere, right? So this is my website. Is pretty minimalistic. I'm very proud of it. And I want to open a new tab, and I can do Command T. Then I'm already in the URL, but let's pretend that I wasn't. I can do Command L to focus the URL. And I can, I don't know, check for Melbourne CocoaHeads, you know. And I can close this tab with Command W. I'm sure that you all know it. There's a very cool plugin for Chrome that you can install. It's called Vimium that does Vim navigation on Chrome. And the very cool thing is that if you press F, you get text labels on all the links. So you can, you know, use them to press the links without using the mouse. For example, if we press A, we can visit my net Facebook. Yeah, well, that's not where that link on my website post. But if you do Command L again and write mocacoding.com, maybe you'll go there. You won't. Doesn't matter. we can just get rid of it. Skip checking. I use the mouse. AJ. Skipping the checking. Yeah. Yeah, it's doing something. Why are I going to? I don't use Facebook, hence that 80 notifications there. There it is. And if you use that again and you press F, you can subscribe. Hint, hint. Okay, we can get rid of Chrome. We can get rid of Xcode. Or maybe we can open it again with this app called Alfred, which is like your Spotlight, but on steroids. So with Alfred, I can open Xcode or Xcode Beta, or I can force quit stuff, Xcode most of the time. Alfred has a lot of plugins. For example, like if I do SPF, I can start whatever track I was listening on Spotify. Yeah, this is white noise from the cafe. Have you ever tried doing some work with this on your headphones? It's great, it filters out everything. And I can... Yeah, well, I don't go to the cafe, but like in the office it's very useful. And see... come on. Well, see again, I'm not going to use the mouse, so I'm going to go to Spotify, and I'm going to use this very cool app, which is called Shortcuts, which our friend Chendo did, which sort of allows you to write the name of what you want to press and presses it for you. So if I do pause, doesn't work. Play. Well, maybe this is because Spotify is silly. It made me use the mouse. But it's very cool in things like Xcode, right? Because if you open it, somehow I killed it, but you know, I have Alfred, so I can start it again. And if you press it and you do like, I don't know, I want to go to debug, tack, press it. Then you can, you know, do whatever you want. Help, blah, 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 blah. Fold. The code folding is very, very cool. Because if we go to the tests, this is the wrong one. Never mind. Now, the code folding is very cool. You might have to trust with me. With Xcode, with Shift Command 1, you can open this window here. And then you do tests, high-level test. And you can, you know, fold and unfold. Whoa, I love it. There it is. I don't have a keyboard shortcut to, just one last thing to show you. Alfred stores your clipboard. So you can copy and paste whatever you want, and it's going to remember it for you. So you can, you know, copy this and copy this and copy this, and they should have gone into my XVim setup. Always messes up a bit, you know. XVim can disable XVim, and now we can do this again. I have to use the mouse, sorry. There you go. Expected is up there, because you know when I copy, go back, copy, go back, copy, go back is very annoying. So that is very handy. And yeah, I don't have a keyboard shortcut to stop this lightning talk, but I'm just going to wrap it up. Thank you.
How do you do multi-cursors without the mouse?
How do I do what?
Multi-cursors?
You don't. I've never tried, to be honest, but I don't think that you can. In Xcode 10, you can do multi-cursor editing, so you do tick, 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 tick. Maybe
Isn't
without.
it possible to do a find and then start a cursor at each of the find locations?
Yes, but it's one at a time, like it's Sublime with text edit or Xcode, you can do multi-cursor at the same time.
Let's see, I've never tried it, so I actually broke my Xcode trying to install that plugin there. so I don't know how much we can do with it, and I don't even think help xbeam xxx. Never mind. So how do you do multi-cursor? What were you suggesting to do? Command F, find.
Oh, I can't
No,
remember.
that's one by one. If you find it, go one by one.
Okay, session.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
No, it is basically if you try to do 5, 6, 7,
Yeah. How do you do?
It is possible to create a cursor at all of the find locations. I can't remember what it is. You might need to actually set up a key binding for it.
Well, we can do command comma to open the settings, then we can use shortcut to go to the key bindings, then we can do, that doesn't work, filter, multi-cursor, cursor, not helpful, find, there's a lot of finds. If I do this, do you see it bigger? No. I see it bigger, but it's not useful. Well, I think this is... How did that happen?
Try commensurately on the session variable, but not.
There, select all find matches was the bottom one on the key binding menu. Select all find matches.
So we give it
So it doesn't have a binding by default.
command H. Session. Nothing happened. Okay, well, I think this really says, that's all, folks. Homework for the TIL channel to find out how to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Nah.
You might want to use the mic, though.
Hi, everyone. So I'm doing a talk on, it's like an intro to USDZ. Hello, hello. All right, so I'm doing a talk on USDZ. I guess we'll be talking about just various things. We'll see how deep we go until it's time to, hopefully I won't run too long. So hi, my name is Gerald. I'm currently an iOS developer at Redbubble. You can find me on the CocoaHeads Slack as Gerald K, and I have a Twitter, but not very active on it. So let's get started. What is the USD format? So it's a new file format, and this is taken straight from their page. It's a new file format to encapsulate all the assets needed to create a 3D scene. So this is an open format that was developed by Pixar. It was actually developed before Apple announced it in WWDC, so it's been around for a little bit. And you can see how Pixar might need something like this to kind of, they have some pretty complex movies and have to deal with a lot of 3D assets, so they kind of created this file format to help them manage it. They created actually a bunch of tools, so they actually have some pretty smart developers there. Their tools are written primarily in Python, and you can actually get access to them through either the GitHub, which is the link is located at the bottom here, and Apple's actually compiled some of them for you, in case you don't know Python like me. So there's 3 file formats that are in the USD format, USD-A, USD-C, and USD-Z. So we all know USD-Z from when Apple presented at WWDC. And USD-A and USD-C are actually kind of included in that. USD-C, later on I'll crack open a USD-Z file and you'll be able to see that in there. It's kind of like a binary. And a USD-A file is basically a USD-C file, but USD-C is in caret. It's in like ASCII human readable, so we'll take a look at that as well. All right, what is a USD-Z? What is it exactly, I should say? So USD-Z file is a specialized zip format. So specialized in that you can kind of use an unzipper to unzip it and everything. It's a little bit tricky to put together. I won't go into the specifics of it, but yeah, it's pretty much meant to be so that anybody can work with it. You can take a USD-Z file and read it really easily. It's kind of optimized to be very quick to read and very open, so that, like, for example, it's there's no compression used when you kind of zip it up, so that something like an iPhone doing like AR Quick Look and stuff can read it with like maximum performance. It's a shareable file, so that you can pass it around just like an image through, and Apple's listed a bunch of apps here. It's missing one square because that's what the PDF had. But yeah, you can use the Files app, Mail, Messages, Notes, any of those. Hopefully it'll become more widespread and more operating systems and such will pick it up. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, this is a USD-Z file. So there's like the spec that Pixar had specified, but Apple actually uses a stricter version. And you can see kind of in their tools that Pixar specifically made, like for compatibility checking, that there's certain rules that you have to follow to make it compatible with the ARKit. Things like the USD-C file has to be the very first thing in the zip file. You can't have the assets located like in weird places and stuff. Yeah. So for, I guess, our purposes, doing iOS apps, Apple has included in Xcode 10 a conversion tool called USD-Z Converter. So we'll play with that in a bit. But it's basically, you can use it to convert a lot of popular 3D file formats like OBJ and stuff into the USD-Z format. There's a really informative video on how to work with all this stuff at a WWDC video 603, so the link is included there. And yeah, and you could just do pretty much, you do USD-C Apple and you'll probably get a link to that video really quickly as well. So how do we actually look at a USD-Z file? So first of all, the quickest, easiest way to do it is Apple's included in their Quick Look functionality. So they've always had this thing called the QLP preview controller. It was available, I think, in at least in iOS 11, maybe in iOS 10. But you can use this preview controller to view things like documents and maybe images, PDFs, and things like that. So it's a really easy way to get to those types of file formats, and they kind of make it really easy to like open up and view them. You don't have to import all sorts of crazy libraries to view them. So they've done the same thing with USD-Z. You can open up, you can use the QL preview controller and open up USD-Z files. So we'll do that in a bit. And it makes it really easy out of the box to get to all the really cool stuff that USD-Z can do. The AR implementation for the quick look stuff is actually really good. They do a lot of things out of the box for you, and it has a really good AR kind of experience. Also, the other great thing about using the quick look is that you don't have to ask for a bajillion permissions. So normally with an AR app, it'll ask you have to ask for like a camera. Well, I think that's basically it, yeah. But if you use the quick look, you don't have to ask for any of that because it's like safe and secure. Your app actually doesn't know much of what's going on inside of the quick look preview controller. So it works kind of like if you've ever worked with Photo Library. If you use Apple's out-of-the-box, like PH Photo Controller, I think was what it's called, then you can sidestep a lot of the permission stuff. So cons about using the quick look. You don't get a lot of control over it. So I think one thing that is kind of hard is like when you view a USDZ file, you can like share it and stuff with other people through messages. You can copy it, notes, any of that kind of thing, but you don't get any control over, like, say, you can't add text to the message yourself. It's just, they share the USDZ file, you have no control over it. Once you bring up this controller, you don't really know what the user is doing. There's delegate methods to kind of be able to present it and stuff, but yeah, it's pretty limited. Unless the AR experience is limited, so like one thing is like it doesn't have dynamic lighting, and that's like if the room gets dark and normal like ARKit kind of experience, you can see like the item will get dark as well. But unfortunately, Quick Look doesn't do that. Cool. So let's have a look at what a USD file in Quick Look looks like. Cool. So I have my iPhone here. And let's have a look in the Files app. So I have this USDZ file, gramophone, you can see. And so this is downloaded from Apple's, ooh, that's not supposed to do that. Let's try that again. Yep, cool. This is downloaded from Apple's Quick Look Gallery. So actually we'll have a look at that real quick. So if you do a search for Apple AR Quick Look Gallery, they actually have a gallery of USDZ files for you to try out. So if you visit this on your iPhone, it'll open up the QO preview controller and you can view the USDZ files, and if you open it up on your Mac, you can download them and crack them open, do whatever you want. And I think the Quick Look, at least the 3D functionality, is coming in Mojave, but I haven't tested it myself yet. So let's look back on the iPhone. So you can see you have the gramophone that is right here in the Quick Look gallery. We can have a look and spin it around. And so all of this interaction stuff is just out of the box. And we can even view it in AR. So we can see it's quite large. You can see that it looks quite good. It does what's called dynamic texturing. So if I open up a different model, let's try this teapot. We'll try that in AR. So you put this teapot down, and you can see that as I spin this teapot around, you can kind of see the reflections going off the rim of the teapot based on the screen. That is, Apple can, or the AR view can see kind of what's in the camera, so reflections. If I put like this black mouse next to it, you can kind of, there we go. It takes a second. You can see kind of the, it's me and my hand in front of it. Yeah. I was hoping that on the rim you could kind of see the lighting change. Did notice that sometimes it takes a little bit, like maybe 5 seconds, but as like a static standalone object, it's quite realistic looking. And they've done a really good job. They've even had like the drop shadow there. You can kind of see like if I make it dark, it doesn't really darken the teapot. So that's that dynamic lighting not working out quite so well. But out of the box, this is a really good AR experience. Normally if you were to write an AR kit from scratch kind of thing, this would require quite a lot of lines of code. So, yeah. And then like, yeah, you can share it. Yeah, this will take a screenshot. Oh. So yeah, you can screenshot your AR experiences. So that's out of the box on iOS 12. Cool. Right, so what if you wanted controls, like you wanted to have like custom sharing and you really wanted to do that dynamic lighting and stuff? You can use USDZ files. You can just drop them in as 3D objects. So is anyone familiar with ARKit or has done with SceneKit? Cool. So one person. So yeah, normally in SceneKit you work with SCN files. So these are 3D files. Normally you have to like convert your 3D objects, and you can do it from a tool like Blender and stuff, like your OBJ files and stuff, and you convert them into the SceneKit files. You drop them into your assets. Like I think there's an SCN assets file or folder like you have instead of like your, I forgot the name of the image ones, but where all your image files go into. And then you'll reference that, and that shows up. Now you can use USDZ files instead of the SceneKit files. No, you don't have to convert your to SCN. You just drop them in, and we'll do that in a demo coming up next. You do need to define your own lighting, your camera, your scene parameters if you're doing a 3D scene. Also gesture support. So like, for example, when I was doing the AR Quick Look, I could like rotate the teapot by rotating my fingers. I could move it around. You're gonna have to do all that yourself if you do it custom. And you need to set up initialization and placement if you're doing an AR scene. You have to do all the delegate methods to say, oh, do I have a good enough surface to place my 3D object on? So yeah, it gets quite involved. Also, a weird caveat that I found while doing this is that USDZ measures units in centimeters, but the SceneKit node uses meters. So when I've tried to place down a USD model verbatim, it's like made like a huge model that like is bigger than the room. So I had to scale down by 100 times in order to get it to show up correctly. Cool. So how do we actually make USDZ files using the Xcode tools? So the particular, I guess, the workflow that I've been using is use Blender, have a 3D model. I'm only just learning Blender, so just luckily we have a 3D modelers at Redbubble, so I've just grabbed the model from them and just exported it out using Blender, and that's into the OBJ format, which is a widely used 3D format. With some texture files, I have to do some mapping from the textures onto OBJ. So this is where my knowledge gets a bit sketchy. Apparently the models have to be UV mapped in order for USDZ to work correctly, and they prefer something called PBR, physically based rendering, but I think we're not doing that sometimes in Blender, so luckily the manual mapping just makes things work out, which is cool. I don't have to worry about that. And then we use, I use the Xcode scripts, so use the USDZ converter, which we'll see in a bit, and that takes in the OBJ files as an input along with my mapping, and it spits out a USDZ file, and then I usually drop that into my iCloud Drive, where I can do handoff and stuff onto my phone and just make sure it looks all right. Cool. Let's take a look at how to do that. So here I have a blender. I have a mug. You can kind of see that it, actually I don't know how to do it with that, but if I use the middle mouse, I can kind of look at that, and you can see that it's a mug in 3D. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and export that out into the OBJ format. So that might be a bit hard to see. Blender UI isn't that great, but it's like export and then OBJ, and I'll just export it into a folder. This Blender object, unfortunately, I've noticed is a bit small, so I'll go ahead and up the scale by 3.5. And so that's exported to the Blender file. So we can see in here that's, I don't know if I can, darn. You can kind of see that there's an OBJ file and an MTL file. The MTL file I can't really do anything with. I actually don't know what's quite in that, but I know that I probably don't need it. And then I'm going to be mapping an asset onto it. So this is an artwork I want to put on the mug. So I'll just put that in a folder called artwork. So I have a little recipe that I've made where I've done all the mapping already, and we can see that here. So we have these crazy parameters. Can I zoom in on that? Yes, excellent. So what do these mean? Oh, don't want that. So I'm in the folder, and let's take a look at, let's see, let me make this a bit bigger. So let's do XC run, USDZ converter, and let's take a look at the help file and see what's in there. Oh, I misspelled it. Let's see, it's USDZ converter. There we go. Okay, so we can see that it takes in, can everyone see that? I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. So it takes an input file and an output file, and you can give it a bunch of parameters. The main ones that it's a bit complex, but I guess the OBJ file has a bunch of materials and groups that you can kind of map textures and stuff onto. There's various textures like color map, emissive map, metallic map, and these kind of define like what color should something be, or how metallic should something be, or should something glow. So these probably, to be honest, I'm a little bit sketchy on that, but it's stuff that's well known in like the 3D modeling world. So the main ones that I'm concerned with is color map and probably metallic and roughness. So I want my mug to be really smooth. I want it to be not metallic at all, and I want to paste an artwork over it. So we'll go back into the recipe, and we can see I have a material that's called porcelain PBR001, and in Blender, right here. So I have somewhere in this object, mug, that's really hard to see. Within the Blender file, I can see that the mug has 2 layers in it. One's called porcelain PBR, or whatever it said in the recipe. Porcelain PBR001 and porcelain PBR002. So maybe, actually, what might be easier is I'll go ahead and just do a UCZ converter. I'll say V for verbose, and then I'll just do mug.use, I think it's USDZ, and then mug.bj. Oops. I did that the wrong way around. Cool, so that's just done a really basic conversion. We haven't mapped any textures, but you can kind of see the verbose kind of tells you what's going on in it. So we can see that we have a bunch of different things like the geom subset, porcelain PBR001 and 002. So that kind of tells me what layers are kind of in the mug. So let's try that again, but we'll use the recipe that I cooked up. So I can do -F to kind of define a file. I think the file was called USDZ recipe, and that's all I really need. So we'll just take one more quick look at what that's doing. So I'm mapping in the color map, just an artwork, and that's in my assets folder. My metallic map, I'm giving it just a black PNG. You're supposed to be able to set numbers to say like, oh, actually I don't want this to be metallic at all, value is 0. I haven't found that works out for me, so I'm kind of working around it by just giving it black and white PNGs to kind of say this is 0, this is 1. So yeah, black means no metallic, and in the other layer, I guess I'm saying the color of the cup should be white. It should be the roughness, it should be very smooth, so black, and then it shouldn't be metallic at all, black. And I'm outputting a USDZ file. Cool. So now we have a USDZ file.
Are those black and white images like 1 pixel by 1 pixel or a certain size, or?
No, I've put them at 1 pixel by 1 pixel. Yeah. So just to double check, that's in the assets. And I have, did I put in textures accents? Oh, right here, black, white, and my artwork is in there.
2 by 2 pixels.
Oh, didn't optimize quite enough for those. So we have our mug USDZ file there, and we can chuck that into, I've already chucked it on my phone. I can chuck it onto iCloud Drive, and it should just show up on my phone. We've already done it. So let's have a look at what's there. So mug. And that's the mug that we just exported. It's not, it was one that I had done earlier, but that's pretty much, I used the exact same recipe to make this one. And if we view it in AR, that's, unfortunately I didn't do the scale on that one. We can see like if we scale it up to about 350%, that should be about a mug size. So you can see that it's white because that's what we defined. It's quite shiny on the inside. And yeah, we have that artwork that's been pasted onto it. Cool. So what has this UCZ, what's actually in this? What's that tool actually done to it? So we can open up Archive Utility, and let's shove that in there and see what's inside. So you can unzip it because it's pretty much a zip file, and we can see that we have a, I wonder if I can make this bigger. Maybe I'll just do this, and yeah. There's a USDC file in there, and it's made it, it's like mug, and then it's added a bunch of weird text in it, .usdc. So that's the actual 3D model, and it kind of says, I expect to have these assets in it. So inside my assets folder, there's the PNGs that I've defined, so black, white, and in artwork, I have the actual artwork there. That's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. Just the USDC. The USDC is looking for certain things. And we can go one step further. Like, what is actually in that USDC file? One of the tools that Pixar has provided, and this is like a Python script, they have a suite of tools. Where is it? So you can download this from Apple's Quick Look Back Gallery, and they have it all pre-compiled for Mac OS. And you could just install, they have instructions on how to set it up correctly. But basically, at the end of the day, you get a couple of tools: USD cat, USD checker, USD diff, edit, and zip. And the one that we're going to be using is USD cat to kind of look inside what the file is. So one of the things that I've forgotten to do is set my environment variables. I think it's this one. Yep. Let's try that again. Cool. So you can see it's spit out a bunch of stuff. Let's try that in So you can see that it's got a bunch of numbers here. Pages and pages of numbers. And these are basically just vertices in the 3D model itself. So it's actually done it all in ASCII, all the vertices, like pages and pages of numbers for all the vertices. And then near the bottom, you can see where it's kind of has a lot of what looks like code. And these determine, I guess these are defining the materials. And somewhere in here, you can see like the porcelain, the color map is like 0. You'll see that the material, the PNG file that I determined as artwork, that will be referenced somewhere in here as well. So this is a USD, this is basically a USD-A file. So the USD-A file, again, is the ASCII format of the USDC file. And the USDC file is like the binary version of it. So that's pretty much what is in that.
Have you ever just changed around in the graphics and see if you can set it?
So like, right, I might be able to, let me think about it. I'd have to use, I don't think I have the tool set up. So I can make changes in here, but I need a tool to be able to convert this USD-A file back into a USDC file. And I'm not quite sure if USD-cat can do that. So USD-cat H. The question was if it was a tool to convert between USD-A and probably. Cool. So let's go back. So now that we have that mug, what if we wanted to make a custom AirKit app out of that? So I have this app called Air Persistence. This is a sample app that Apple had on their developer portal, which you can download. And this one's kind of to show off AirKit 2, and you can save AirKit scenes, basically. So basically, I just tap and it places a little mug there. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. So let's chuck a USDZ file in there and see what that looks like. So in this sample file, we can see at the bottom here, this is where it's grabbing the cup assets, the virtual objects. So there's some code here. It's loading an SCN file from your bundle. And that is done in this assets.scn assets. So we have a cup here. And it's got a 3D model of a cup. So instead, let's chuck in the mug that we just made. Into our project file. And so instead of that, just do this handy code, which I've created before. Ooh, probably don't need this. So this is just pulling the mug.usdz, and we're loading it, and we're scaling it down by 100, just down to 1%, because of that centimeters to meters type of thing. So let's run that on the phone. Oh no. Bundle menu. Oh. didn't add it to the target. Cool. So now we have the same AR experience, and we tap to place the object. It makes a very, very small mug. So one thing that I think that that got messed up on was, unfortunately, the Blender file had a little bit of some scene object stuck in it, so I forgot. That's what that white square is right there. So exported a little bit more than just the mug. But you can kind of see, if I go really close to it, you can kind of see the mug sitting there in AR. It's floating away, oh no. Yeah. So yeah, that was actually just in the Blender file. I needed to clean this Blender file up a bit more before I had exported it, but oh well. So yeah, it's that easy to just drop in USDZ files into whenever you want to use 3D objects. So you don't have to deal with SCN files if you don't want to. Yeah. So finally, I guess what we're doing at Redbubble. Let's open the Redbubble app and see what we're doing with USDZ. So this unfortunately isn't released yet, but I'll give you a quick peek. So at Redbubble you can buy phone cases with, I think we have like 10,000 artists or a lot of artists, and they have a bunch of artworks, and you can buy them on phone cases and stuff. So we'll have, actually, I like this unicorn riding the narwhal. So we have this handy AR button there. And that generates, you can see this now in 3D. And that's a bit small. I think I need to fix up that model object. But this is using the Quick Look preview controller. And you can kind of see the case. And you can even see like my keyboard reflected in the back of this case. So this is a lot more reflective than the mug, so you can kind of see how cool that looks. Cool. And yeah, that's it for me. Any questions? Yep.
Yeah, when you do a custom, when you're doing a custom scene like you showed us, what are the advantages of using SDSC over sync, like a sync kit object?
Probably just, hopefully USDZ will become more widely available. So since they've open sourced it, and they're really trying to push, I guess, it to be widely adopted, it'll be easier to get a USDZ file rather than an SCN file. So normally with SCN files, you have to take like an OBJ file or some other widely used 3D file format and then convert it down and then use it in your app. Whereas USDZ is meant to be like an open source format. You can even download them on the fly and use them. So SCN files you have to have bundled in your app. I guess you can kind of have, like for games, you can download SCN files through the, I forgot what it was called. Apple have this thing where you can download levels and things of your game. You can get them through that, but like you can't just go to an arbitrary URL and just say download an SCN file and use it in the game. So that's one of the really cool things. Also, you can share a USDZ file. So you can say, hey, take a look at this really cool 3D character and send it off in messages to your friends and stuff.
Thank you.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks for the talk. What were the biggest headaches of trying to figure out how to implement all this?
What were the biggest headaches? I guess part of it is it's really new. USDZ was pretty much, it sounded like it was rushed a bit to make it for WWDC. So the documentation has been a bit sparse on it. The USDZ converter tool that Apple released was pretty buggy up until maybe beta 4 or beta 6. Like it wouldn't map textures quite correctly. So after that, it's gotten a lot better. But there's still some caveats that I run into. Like in the Redbubble app, the USDZ files that I get out of it don't actually pass compliance. Like there's another tool that Pixar provide. It's like USD checker. When I run it through the USD checker, it says not fail. But it still shows up in AR Quick Looks. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess that's it. And it's pretty beta. So it's been, I mean, there's been a few blogs that have talked about it. There's a Google group, I think, that Pixar has set up. So it's fairly active in there. Yeah, and hopefully now that iOS 12 is out, there'll be a lot more discussions and information out about USDZ. Unfortunately not, yeah. So iOS 12, I think, is coming out Monday, so that's a pretty tight timeline. And unfortunately, like, yeah, the Redbubble app won't be able to make it, but hopefully in the next weeks we'll have some cool stuff in there.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Grab that mic before it goes feedback crazy. Awesome. Cheers. As I said at the beginning, next Hack Night is next Wednesday at Cognizant. Cognizant's just around the corner on Williams and Flinders Lane. So if you know how to get to here, you can walk there from here. You can. Next drink night is 25th. Yeah, September 25th. It's right in this one. At the Mill House from 6. And next NS breakfast is October 5th. So that's the first Friday at Higher Ground. No, see, I missed one. Next meetup is the second Thursday of next month, and it's somewhere between the 8th and the 14th. It's on the website, that's up to date. Thank you very much for coming. We've got a couple of beers left. We're running early tonight, so we'll tidy up slowly, and probably be a few of us that are heading down to the Irish Times, which is half a block away. But if I don't see you next month. Thanks a lot.